Let's keep working our way down through these passages. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 8 left to do. I think we might be able to take a good bite out of this tonight. Keep working our way down through these. If we don't finish all of these verses, no big deal. We're not in any hurry on this particular study. What does Paul say in Galatians chapter 4, verse 6, ESV, quote, "And because you are sons," speaking to the community there, Jews and Gentiles, with a heavy emphasis on the Gentile element, "because you are sons, God has sent the Spirit of his Father into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father." Again, here's another passage where we could call it a triadic passage because it mentions Father, Son, and Spirit. It even has the word Father, and it has the word Son, and it has the word Spirit. It has all three of those buzzwords that we Trinitarians are used to describing when we're having discussions on the issues of Trinity, and we're having Trinity, we're trying to press our point that God is Trinity, even though that's not really the point of Paul's message at the moment. He's not trying to explain he's not really, I don't think, he's trying to get the Galatian Gentiles to believe that they are suddenly becoming related to this triune God. His point is the fact that they don't have to go through a conversion policy to change their status in order to be counted as genuine sons and daughters and members of Abraham's family, right? That's his main point in this part of the letter. But germane to our study on Trinity is that God sent the Spirit of his Son. Those Unitarians and Oneness Pentecostals and Jehovah's Witnesses and Christadelphians and Iglesia Ni Cristo and Mormons and standard garden variety monotheists who want to challenge the idea that God is the Spirit and that God, this singular being who's numerically one to himself and only himself, and therefore the Spirit of God is God and God is the Spirit, have a hard time explaining the fact that God sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts. If God is a singular being and the Spirit of God is equal to God himself, like the Spirit of Ariel is in fact equal to Ariel, right? I cannot separate the Spirit of Ariel from Ariel. I can't send my spirit out to do some work while I stay home and do other work, the way God can send his Spirit forth from himself and do work for him while God the Father stays in one location, right? If we can speak that way. God sends the Spirit of his Son into our hearts. And yet we read in other passages that it is God who has come into us. God makes his abode with us. And yet we read in other passages that it's the Holy Spirit that has taken up residency within us. And so you can see why I've entitled this section, "Who or what Spirit is indwelling us as believers?" You know, the Bible gives us the answer, and the answer isn't always as neatly cut and dried or less nuanced than we would like to admit. It is kind of leaning towards one answer sometimes and then leaning towards another answer at other times. It kind of draws you into the mystery of God's identity without allowing you to put your finger on it and say, aha, I figured God out. He is this. And then we kind of draw up a formula and figure out what God is, right? We've got him dissected under our petri dish in our science lab, and we think we've figured him out. We can now close the book on the study. God can't be so neatly dissected like that. It's the point I'm trying to make. Let the Bible speak for itself. Read the Bible in all of its beauty and all of its wonder and all of its majesty and in all of its mystery. How can God send the Spirit of his Son, who is a human, into our hearts? Last time I checked, Jesus is human. When was it possible for the spirit of a human to dwell in the hearts of everyone simultaneously? Notice it's a plural passage, into our hearts, right? I mean, that just kind of boggles the mind. It stretches the imagination. And yet, this is what's going on. So let's keep going through this exercise. You guys are kind of getting the idea here. Ephesians 2. Most of these are obviously, the New Testament is primarily penned by Paul, so he has the opportunity to share all of these different perspectives, which I might add, if Paul was a Unitarian and he thoroughly believed that God was only one, and he was numerically one, or if he was a oneness Pentecostal, Paul, and he believed that the name of God was Jesus, right? Like many oneness Pentecostals purport that the name of the being known as God is actually Jesus. Or if Paul was a modalist, if he believed that there was this one being who simply put on three different disguises from time to time to interact with humans, right? That's modalism. If Paul were not a Trinitarian himself, I mean, obviously Paul wouldn't use the term Trinitarian because that term was not in use in Paul's day, as far as we can tell.